Hello, I am the evil Scotsman. I've got a video here regarding the cost of living in the United Kingdom. Let's get stuck in, see what this first guy's saying.
£35,828 is the average wage in the UK.
Median. The average is less than that. The Office of National Statistics in the UK have a track record of massaging figures to make the government look better and make the problems in the country seem a lot more trivial than they actually are.
2024. What a load of rubbish. I can count on one hand, in fact less, how many people I know are earning around that figure. I'm a peasant if that's the case. I am an absolute pauper. That's unbelievable.
Now, even if the average wage is 35,000 in the UK, which I don't believe for a second, the average property is nearly 300,000. Go figure. That's almost a 9 times earnings multiple, wages multiple.
That's a joke. There's
Not
no
free,
chance
like the baby boomers.
that is the average wage in the UK. Not a chance. Get in the comments. Let me know if you think it's right, because I don't. I don't know many people on that wage. That is very high to be the average wage. Unbelievable. Absolute joke. Especially the cost of living nowadays. Yeah, we should all be earning around that figure. But no.
That should be minimum wage with the cost of things in the UK. If you're telling me the average one-bedroom apartment in London is £2,500 per month, if you're telling me the average ex-council 1960s ex-council house is £1,000 to £1,100 a month to rent in my area, then that is not going to scratch the surface for any kind of lifestyle. That should be the minimum wage, not the average.
No. Let me know where you are in the country, in the UK, and sort of what wage you're looking at, if you want to, and we can figure it out and see. But yeah, get in the comments. But for me, there's no chance that is the average wage in the UK.
What are these cats
The UK
doing?
is finished. If you're currently living in the UK, you might want to reconsider, because it's about to get a whole lot worse. So this graph shows you the standard of living in the UK, and it predicts it over the next few years up until 2028. Just take a
Look how it just goes down. That's nice, isn't it? A developed nation such as ours, where living standards are dropping that quickly.
look at that. This massive drop after 2023 shows how bad it's going to get. The standard of living in the UK is going down the drain. And take a look at this. If you wanted to rent a one-bedroom flat in suburban London, not even in central London, it will cost you 2.2k per month. Honestly, how can anyone afford this? Because the average salary in the UK per year...
They can't. Extend and pretend only goes so far until people can't pay the bills en masse. That's where we're heading now.
After tax is 28k. And if you're renting a one-bedroom flat, you would only have £130 per month left over.
Per month. Now, in the UK, I'm just going to stop the gentleman here. I'm not going to talk a lot during this, I hope. It just depends what I think of at the time. But the official marker of destitution in the UK is when you have less than £95 per week. So even a middle class worker who can afford the rent is officially destitute. In fact, with 100 and odd quid per month, that's literally 25 to say £40 you've got per week to live off. So you're twice as destitute as the minimum level of destitution at that. Wow.
For everything else. And no wonder so many people are in debt. Taxes are likely to go up, inflation is at an all-time high, and rent prices are unaffordable.
Speaking of inflation, it's still ongoing. Things that I'm buying regularly are still going up quite markedly from one shop to the next, which is normally weekly. The price of everything's going up still, except for fuel. That's going down.
so many different countries around the world where you can have a good standard of living. So why would you choose to live in the UK? It's already the second most unequal country in the world. Because honestly, if you stay in the UK now,
I'm surprised it's not the most unequal. I guess the United States is the most unequal, but that may be because they're richer. I saw a stat that says the top 1% of earners in the UK earn above 120k. The top 1%.
now it's just going to get so much worse. And yes, all countries do have their problems, but the way I see it, the UK is finished and it's not getting better anytime soon. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
I feel
That's a nightmare.
to have a little rant this morning. I have just finished doing my food shop. Now this week I decided to go to Morrison's because it's closer than Tesco's. I don't have my club card plus 10% off start until next week. So I thought I'll go Morrison's, it's closer, I just want to get it done quickly this Saturday because we've got a busy one. And I am so disappointed. Not in the products, it's the prices. I cannot believe it. Since I used to always shop at Morrison's, and since I've last been here, they have, on products that I used to buy.
Just for an outline for any US viewers watching, they're not exaggerating. The cost of products in the supermarket in the UK is through the fucking roof. Just yesterday, my daughter asked, there's like a ready meal macaroni that she really likes, and it's not one of your really bad ready meals. I've checked the ingredients; it's all pretty wholesome and stuff. But it's £3.55 for a little tub of macaroni. That's nearly $5.
To buy here, they've just skyrocketed, some of them by 50%, and I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I just feel so angry with how the cost of living crisis is still going on, still developing. There's still going to be price increases, and some of us can get by, some of us can't. It's and I just feel I'm really lucky that I can just about afford the things that we want to buy. But
Millions can't.
there are so many people, it just upsets me that I know that can't, and I have family members that are in that position and friends, and it is just so unfair. And I'm just wondering, when is this ever going to change? Is it ever going to get better? I can't see it is. Once prices go up, they tend to not go down ever, do they?
It's very hard to see where it's going to end because the British people are, in my opinion, the most apathetic on planet Earth. They do not believe anything can change. They do not believe in politics. If you raise your voice with a political opinion, they say, "Who do you think you are? What's your solutions?" And so we're in this kind of continuum where nothing will get done. Just a lot of people bickering with each other below the level of the elites and big business, the global corporations who own and control us all. I don't know when it's going to end.
And I just, I wanted to come on here and just express, how I feel about it. I'm sure there's so many of you that are probably in a really tough position, and it's penny to penny every month. And I really feel for you, I do. And is it ever going to end? That's all I had to say, really. I haven't saved that much this week on my budget, and I know I have a good budget for the amount.
I genuinely think that people will be starving, literally starving to death, and their friends and family is going to be like, "You're a loser. Drink less lattes. Be more like me, the lucky one."
The amount of people I have, so I am very lucky. I'm very, very fortunate for that. But when times are hard and we're all trying to save a penny here and there, and you just feel like you're not getting a break.
Because a lot of it is just luck.
Anybody else feeling this? I'm sure we all are. But I just wanted to come on here and express how I felt about it this morning. It's a rainy one, as per usual. Look at it.
Sky fog.
So yeah, I hope you all have a great Saturday. What's everybody up to today?
Now, if the UK had some nice weather, decent temperatures, some sort of massive upside to the robbery that we face every single day, there'll be a lot less people leaving. But because we don't see the sun for like 340 days out of 365 per year, well, that causes its own kind of mental issues, health problems, as well as just not giving you much to do. If you have no money, at least in a nice climate, you can go outdoors, sit in the garden, you can go for a walk, go to the beach. Quite low cost happiness. Most of the happiness that you have in the UK, you have to buy it because you don't want to be outside.
Tell me, yeah, I'm not the only one who spends a fucking fortune on shopping. Last month, we spent £800 on food. Give and take some few little bits for Christmas, but £800 on food. Okay, my husband is a bodybuilder. Maybe that's what he needs to quit.
Right, okay, so I've said this plenty, that if every man in the Western Hemisphere decides to become a bodybuilder tomorrow, food prices will double because people will be eating for two. I know from my high metabolism state, when I try and put on weight, I need to eat like 4,000 calories per day, which has a cost associated with it. Now, currently I'm drinking the protein shakes and just having them with semi-skimmed milk. But if I was to try and do it the old-fashioned way, just by eating lots of, bulky foods, meats, carbs, lots of protein from the meat, it would cost an absolutely horrendous amount of money. You'd be talking about £40 per day to feed yourself, probably, on ingredients.
Quit, but that's like a wage. If you spend that much money, please let me know, or please let me know in the comments how much you spend on food, just so I can pick.
I spend about £20 a day, so £600 a month, and that's including my food for my pets. So me, my daughter, occasionally other kids if they're around. Not all my kids stay with me, and the cats. You're talking £600 a month, and that's not for fancy food either. Just standard fare. I try and buy as healthy as I can.
Compare to see if I am doing something wrong. Because I can't cope. I don't want to do it anymore. I need to save some pennies. Maybe shopping or not buying as much is the way I'm going to do that.
A lot of people think they're going to grow their own in their gardens and stuff like that, without realising the work that goes into that. A not insignificant investment initially, at least. And also you need the weather. So you need some sunshine, something that we don't get here. So there's limited amounts one can grow for oneself, put it that way. You're usually okay with leafy greens. Fruits, especially exotic fruits, forget it. You're not going to be able to grow them at home unless you've got a heated greenhouse and a lot of space and some money.
So yeah, please give me a heads up down in the comments what you spend on shopping, and if you think how much I'm spending is absolutely ridiculous.
No, I don't think what she's spending is ridiculous at all, considering her husband is probably eating for two. I don't know how many kids they have, if they have any kids, but looking at my own food costs for an average day, you could be looking between £10 and £20 for an average day, to feed two people plus some cats. And I don't buy them the most expensive cat food either. I buy budget cat food. I mean, they'll eat what they're given as far as I'm concerned. They get a treat now and again, so they'll get some scraps from me, from my beef or chicken or whatever, but still, I don't think what that woman's spending is too badly out of kilter from what most people in the UK will be having to spend on groceries.
Of people actually leaving the UK.
If we pay our taxes, they should come back to benefit us instead of
UK's might be losing its competitive
That's funny.
edge. A lot of people have left to Portugal, to Spain, where it's nice and sunny, better than in the UK, and flats are cheaper over there too.
Can it get worse?
The UK government's bankrupt and so are most local authorities. So your taxes go into a horrible black hole called the national debt. And then what the government actually spend on public services comes from new loans, usually. And it's called the deficit. So every single year the national debt gets bigger because every single year there's a deficit. So your taxes aren't paying for any of these services. Your taxes are only going towards the debt or even the interest on the national debt. down a black hole.
Worse? I hope not.
Overall inflation stubbornly high. Cost of living crisis.
The cost of living in the UK is rising and it's changing people's lives.
The UK has fallen into its largest recession on record.
So, is
Oh, really?
the UK actually collapsing? And if so, why? The complaints start with housing. Home prices here have risen a lot in recent years.
In recent years. Now, only an expose on the subject could get it so spectacularly wrong. House prices have been rising extremely for 30 years. 30. Not recent years. 30. 2 generations who will never own homes unless they are among the top earners.
Everyone I speak to talks about the rising cost of rent. The average rent in London reached £2,500 per month. That's about $3,150.
Middle class workers really can't keep up with the rental prices going up.
Middle class workers' rental prices does not compute. It's time we had a national light bulb moment where we realise if you are living paycheck to paycheck, regardless of where you came from in life and regardless of what university you went to, regardless of how middle class your job role is, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you are renting, you are not middle class. Middle class in the USA is different from middle class in the UK. Middle class in the UK traditionally meant land-owning gentry who don't have to work. You'd have your upper class who are generational wealthy, could never ever get poor in their life. You had your middle class who are landowning gentry who, if they make bad decisions, might get poor. And then you have your working class, and they generally line the pockets of the middle and the upper class. In the USA, it seems that middle class has crept into the conversation to describe middle earners. And to me, they're all working class. Because, let's face it, do you have to work to pay the bills? Do you have to work to get somewhere in life? Okay, then you're working class. Stop acting better than people. It's one of the biggest problems we face is separatization of people. Separatism of people. We're all the same underneath the richest. We're pretty much all in the same boat.
Rent is absolutely crazy. Once upon a time, you could get a room for like, let's call it £400 to £600.
That was still a rip-off for a room.
You had space for everything. Now, you could possibly have stuff in storage and pay for storage, as well as renting a room, which is literally about the size of me putting my hands out like this.
Many in London have moved to cheaper cities.
A lot of my friends who have to work in the UK, they have left London. Most of my friends, they've gone up north. They've gone up to Manchester. Let's say if you can rent an amazing flat in Birmingham and Manchester for £1,200 a month.
But that presents its own problems too.
Then I don't think Manchester as a city can actually handle it. It doesn't have the infrastructure and the system that London does, and it is struggling a lot.
Home prices are now set to fall. This as the Bank of England's increase in...
Look how old this is, guys. London, June the 8th. House prices set to slide 10%. The reason that they don't slide in the UK, there's several reasons for that. The market itself has been pretty dead for around about 15 to 18 years now. And most of the people who are buying and selling are those who already have a lot of equity. In addition to large corporations buying up swathes of, buy-to-let housing and putting it under the company umbrella, as a lot of buy-to-let landlords, once they started to treat it like a business and pay tax on their income, got out of the market.
Ultimately make mortgages less desirable.
Thing I could not have foreseen when I moved to London a year ago is that the cost of rates, taxes, water and electricity that I paid in Johannesburg would, despite this cost of living crisis and the fact that here in the UK we have heating in our homes, which the Joburg total didn't include, it's still cheaper to heat my place, pay council tax and water and electricity in the UK.
That's surprising.
To just pay council tax, water and electricity, despite load shedding in Joburg.
So the British government have now said to the banks that mortgage holders can increase the length of their mortgage.
So just before I let this guy speak about mortgages, that lady's from South Africa. She thinks energy's cheaper in the UK than it is in South Africa. Well, that may be true in likes of London, where the climate is a little bit better than, say, Scotland or the north of England, or even the far north of Scotland, where having the heating on for 8 months of the year is pretty much essential for survival.
At the drop of a hat, thus reducing payments. Sounds to me like another fucking trap.
Oh.
So let's say that you've got 10 years left on your mortgage and you're struggling to pay the mortgage payments because they've put it up to over 5% now. You can essentially speak to your mortgage company and ask them to add an extra 10 years onto your mortgage.
Oh, great.
And theoretically...
10 more years of indentured slavery. I'm a winner.
And I'm not a mathematician or a financial advisor, but that should halve the amount you're paying. So let's say that you're paying £1,000 a month, you're struggling with it, you've only got 10 years left, you can go back to 20 years and pay £500 a month. Now, that's going to be very...
It won't have the amount because you've got interest to consider, but the man generally is speaking a lot of sense.
Very attractive for a lot of people, particularly if you're struggling to pay your mortgage. But essentially all that's done is it's just kept you in that mortgage trap for another 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is. So although it looks as though the government are doing something, actually, they're just trapping people into mortgages again.
It's just a sleight of hand trick. It's a sleight of hand trick. Spinning the plates. That's all they ever do. Kick the can, spin the plates, and sleight of hand tricks. Nothing ever gets better.
Asking lenders to do this. Surely there's a better way around it. Now, I'm not saying handouts, but this inflation is going to start coming down. I mean, petrol and diesel has started to come down rapidly.
What do you think zero interest rates were? They were handouts. Handouts for those who already had property at the cost of everybody else's earnings. Let's not muck about here.
It almost looks like it's coming down every day. So we might see inflation coming down. I don't think it's going to be down to anywhere near 3% by the end of the year. But what looks good on the surface, if you think a little bit deeper, actually looks like another fucking trap to me.
I cannot believe that the top UK paying jobs only earn around 100k per year. You can
This guy's like a fake influencer. I'm just going to actually...
highest UK earners and not even be able
Listen.
to just make an online income and make your own money like myself. So if you want to learn how I make serious money from my mobile phone and work for myself, do what I want every single day, then go to the bio.
Excuse me, how much do you pay for rent in London?
180.
What?
Can I get a tour of your apartment?
Yep.
Oh wow!
That's actually not bad.
One of the things I like about this apartment is
It's small.
it has all this industrial.
Yes, industrial type design is very common in New York. I do have an outdoor area. This is good.
Hey.
We spend most of our time here just eating.
That's not bad.
Other time we spend here.
It's still very expensive.
So I have my bedroom here. The wardrobe. Yeah.
Let's do your refrigerator test check.
I have jollof rice.
Okay.
Plantain.
So, are you single or you're married?
I'm not married.
Clever boy.
Is that it's small.
Kiss goodbye to half of that.
To do. From sleeping to chilling to having friends over to working. I usually get everything done here.
How much does it cost to live a decent life in the UK? Well, that would really depend on what you class as a decent life. But for me, a decent life is having all your expenses paid and £600 to £700 at the end of the month to be able to spend on yourself or save up. So I'm going to show you exactly how much you'd need to earn. But before we
50k.
work all that out, I'm
50k.
talking about British culture here on TikTok. So if you'd like to know more about British English or British
Unless you live with your mum,
give me a follow. Now, the
50k.
average cost of a one-bedroom apartment in a big city is going to be between £800 to £1,000. So let's...
Which, don't forget, is about 1.5 times what they say the average wage is. And in actual fact, if the Office of National Statistics weren't such lying beggars, then you would probably find it's about double the average wage, 50k. We've got to a point in UK society where you need double the average wage to have the average life.
Let's choose 800 to be safe. Electricity right now is extremely expensive, so you're looking at least £150 to £200 per month.
Yeah.
And then for food, you're going to be wanting to spend at least £200 on food, minimum. That's a
£200 on food for a month. Yeah, it's possible. You're not going to have a great deal of choice, and you're not going to have a great deal of protein for £200 a month. I would surmise.
That's £150 for council tax, 70 quid for transport. We're going to be quite generous with this one. It would be a lot.
That's very conservative. £70 a month for transport. If you live in a big city like Edinburgh, London, I'm sure you can get travel cards that cost about that per month or a bit less. And that's only if you're staying within the city and don't leave the city. Where I live, it's £90 for 28 days for a bus travel ticket, and that just gets me around my local area. It doesn't get me to Edinburgh, it doesn't get me to East Fife, it doesn't get me anywhere really, just around my local urban area for £90 a month on one mode of transport. And there are certain places I would have to go to that I can't get to on the bus. So, you know, how long's a piece of string for transport when it's £5 one way to get up to my local city centre?
A lot more if you had a car, you had to pay road tax, MOT, all of that good stuff. But let's just say you take public transport and you occasionally walk. And we're going to lump Wi-Fi, phone bill and water all together. So that's £100 per month. So in total, just on expenses, you're looking at almost £1,500 to £1,600 per month.
How's that sustainable, guys? How's that sustainable in a country with a national minimum wage of like £10, £11 per hour? This is crazy. That means someone who's earning like £10 per hour, 40 hours per week, 4 weeks in a month, they make that survival figure before tax on their wages.
Month to live comfortably in the UK. So add on that £600 for spending money, for saving, you're looking at almost £2,100 to £2,200 per month just to live comfortably. And so you'd need to earn that after tax. So of course your salary
£3,000 a month then.
So probably about £2,800 to £2,700 per month. So that's how much it costs to live comfortably and live a decent life in the UK.
So a takeaway from that I can garner is that all seems rather fine if the average wage is 36,000, which it's not. So there's a big tell right away to how much in poverty people who are actually working are in right now.
£2,600 to £2,700. Now you could definitely do that cheaper if you're sharing your apartment, if you're shopping at places like Lidl and Aldi, definitely. But this scenario was just a decent, comfortable, easy living life. If you'd like to hear a budget, cheapskate version of how to live in the UK.
You mean there's a cheaper skate version than £200 a month on food? I'd like to hear that. I really would love to hear that. I'm all ears.
Decently, on a tight budget, let me know in the comments. I'll do another one of those. But if you learned something new about the UK, make sure you give me a follow.
That's another reason we're leaving this country. I'm using the income that I pay tax on to buy fuel that I pay tax on, to put in a car that I pay tax on, to drive on a road that I pay tax on. I've had enough. Sydney. And I said Sydney, not Sydney.
And the UK government are going to start taxing people to stream content online because so many people have stopped watching television. Now, I don't know, for all my foreign viewers, we have such a thing called a TV license. So that is a automatic tax that you must pay if you watch television. And it's meant to be only if you watch BBC programming, because the commercial stations are self-funding, except that's a bit of a red herring as well. So now what they're trying to do is make everyone buy a TV license, even if they only watch Netflix or YouTube. So I'll be getting taxed to watch him get taxed on his car and his fuel and his wages and his road. And if he goes into the shop at the petrol station to buy anything, it's got 20% tax on it.
I haven't done anything fancy yet. You're just paying your bills. I live in Croydon. I've got a 2-bed flat that I'm paying £13.50 for. When I start calculating all of my extra expenses, okay, so and I always have to do the math. So £13.50. You add another £100 per council tax. That's £14.50. Add another sort of £2.50 free bills for your electric, water,
you know it,
and all of that, and gas.
£1,600.
Let's call it £16.50.
Yeah.
Talk about food. Let's call it what, £200 a month? That's 80.
Again, that'll probably do a single person buying basic food and maybe one takeaway every now and then. If you've got a family, double that. If you've got pets as well, add another, I don't know, 50 a month on. Depends how many pets you've got and how big their appetite is, I'm sure. But I think £200 a month for food is rather conservative. He seems like quite a big bloke who works out, so I'd imagine he needs a lot of calories to maintain that physique. I can't see him doing it for £200 a month, but hey, maybe he does. Maybe he only shops at, cheap places.
1850. Let's talk about transport. £50 a week. It's another 200.
That's more like it.
2050. Yep.
I would say that £50 a week is a lot more realistic for transport than £70 a month.
Remember, I haven't bought any clothes. I haven't done anything yet. I'm on 2050. What else may I have missed out? Let's say I've got a car. Yeah. The typical thing nowadays is to finance or lease. Let's put it £450 now. That's for your lease for your car. Now you got to talk insurance. Call it another £100.
Yeah.
I'm on 2,550 bills. I haven't done anything fancy yet. Yeah.
That's life in the UK. That's life in the UK. I sometimes wonder if the old-fashioned ways of slavery was better for people. They would at least get food. They would at least get shelter. They wouldn't get paid for their work. But, hey, I'm not saying that it would be preferable. I'm just saying that it's probably quite similar in terms of what you get out of it.
Yeah. Now, what is that salary-wise after tax? That's like a 40k salary. Yeah.
Just to do nothing.
You're just paying your bills.
Yeah. My members are on 24 grand.
That's not poverty. It's not good income, but it's not poverty.
The 24k.
It's a good income, but it's not poverty. Okay, it's not a good income. It's not a good income. 24k is not a good income. Oh man, I can't believe they propagate this level of madness in the UK media. Of course, most of the people who are involved in the UK media own multiple properties, so it's within their best interests to downplay the problems that the average Briton is facing right now with the cost of living.
K after tax, take home is about £1,600. First moved to London 5 years ago. I had a really small room in Clapham, which is quite a nice area in London, and it cost me £850 a month after bills. Then the tube getting into work is probably about £150 a month. Just living in London without food or anything and travelling to work was costing me about £1,000.
Living in London, not even food included, is £1,000 a month, and that was a long time ago. I think he's talking about. And I think his property that he was talking about there seemed reasonably priced for Clapham. If I know anything about Clapham, it's quite a desirable area.
I was on 24k.
In South East London.
£600 less for the month just to survive, have food, go out, everything. News report is right, it's not poverty, but you will be living paycheck to paycheck.
So how much do you think people need to live comfortably in London?
I think you could do it on like 2,500 a month.
If you're living at home, you can live comfortably off like a 40k salary.
Living at home. So living with your parents, you can live comfortably on 40k. Okay. That's not really an option for anybody who is living an adult life. I will say that. And that's one of the greatest tragedies I think about modern times, is that people who should really be out on their own in the world are still with mum and dad. They maybe have a fantastic motor vehicle, but they live with mum and dad. And I'm going to end this video here, guys. Thanks for watching. What do you think about the cost of living crisis in the UK? Is it affecting you in these ways? I know that I'm feeling the pinch. Everything that I buy seems to be going up like 10-15% week to week. And they don't talk about that on the news. It's all this, oh, the Bank of England has kept inflation at 2%. When really, I don't think I would even notice the cost of things rising if they're only rising 2%. 2% a day maybe. I think that's what they're rising. Let me know in the comments what you think about it anyway. This is all for me for now. Until next time, peace.